Hey everybody, looking for some really great production value when you're screen sharing in Zoom? You don't want to disappear into that little corner box? Oh man, have I got something for you this week on Torah Tech Tips. Hey everybody, David Paskin here, your Torah Tech guy, and welcome to Torah Tech Tips. Gosh, it's been forever because of the Jewish holidays. I scheduled these on Tuesdays, and because of the Jewish holidays, we never had a Tuesday to do it together, to be together. I'm happy to see you, and I'm happy to be with you to be able to share some great tech for your great Torah. So, I've talked before about how important eye contact is, how important it is for your video to be front and center when you're teaching, when you're davening, when you're doing whatever, when you're leading in digital space. And Keynote, which is the PowerPoint version for Mac, or the Google Slides version specifically for Mac, just dropped an unbelievable update, which blew my mind. And so I wanted to show it to you and demo it for you. So we're going to take a look at something called live video in Keynote. And what this is going to allow you to do is to screen share a Keynote presentation while keeping you and your video front and center. So let's jump over to my other computer where I already have a Keynote set up with live video in it. And then we're going to break it down. We're going to recreate it together. Now, before I do this, I want to tell you, because this is on a different computer and my audio is coming through this computer, the audio video sync is going to be off. So I'm going to keep myself in a little bubble down here in the corner. So don't get thrown off by that. You won't have the sync issues when you're just sharing to Zoom if you're just on one computer. But for demo purposes, you will see this sync. Let's jump in. So here I am down here in the little bubble. Hi there. And you can also see me on this big video. This is using my OBSBot here. And this is a Keynote. I'm just in Keynote and you're watching live video in Keynote. And you'll see the way I set this up is that I've got my text, my prayer text. It could be whatever prayer you're leading, or if you're sharing Safari, you want to put some text in here. You can't share a web page side by side, but if you copied the text and put it in as a text object here in Keynote, then you'd be able to create something just like this. But that's not the coolest part. The coolest part is that because your live video is treated as an object, you can do with it just what you would do with all other objects in Keynote. So for example, if I were to play this Keynote, let's go ahead and start. And now we're in playing mode, and watch this. When I switch to the next slide, oh, come on. That's cool, right? So what I use there is I use something called Magic Move, which is one of the built-in features of Keynote. And then I just had the same objects, the same text, and the same live video, and they move automatically. So let's do this. Let's jump in. Let me jump out of presentation mode, and let's look at how I built this. So I've got two slides up here on the left-hand side, you can see. This is the slide we're looking at now, and then if I go down here, I've got the slide with the lower third. Let's build one of these together. All right, so we're going to add a slide. So here's our blank slide. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a background in. You can choose any background you want. You could use, let's see, a color fill, a gradient fill if you wanted to. I chose to use a picture of the Kotel, a picture of the Western Wall. So I'm going to click on Image Fill. Now I already loaded this picture up, so it's already in there. If it weren't here, you could just go to Choose and upload the picture from your desktop. Now that I have that, let's look back at our first slide here. So we have two boxes here. We've got the white box with text, and then we've got this live video box. So let's start with a white box with text. So we're going to do a shape. I'm going to choose this. I like the rounded corners. And we're going to fill, oh, there's the doorbell. I'm going to ignore that. We're going to make this bigger. You can make it whatever size you want that works for your text. And then we're going to go ahead and make it white. Fill this with white. And again, you can make it any color you wanted to. Now let's go ahead and throw the text in there. I'm going to just copy the text from up here. So we'll copy that text, and I'm going to put it right there. Now you can see it's not fitting exactly, and that's because on the other one, this was probably a little bigger. So let me make that a little bigger so it fits better. Great. All right, now it's time to add the live video. So you go up here. This is where you add all of your different pieces. And under Media, there's now an option to click on Live Video. Now, the first time you do this, it will ask for permission to use your video camera, your webcam, whatever it is. I'm going to make this just a little smaller, move it over here for a moment. One thing I forgot to mention is that on these elements here, you can make the rounding of the edges either shorter or longer. I like to keep mine pretty short, usually around 35. So I'll set that at 35, a radius of 35. Now back over here on the live video, because this is just like any other element, I can add a border. If I go over here to the right-hand side, I can add a border. We'll do a line border. We'll say a white line border about 5 points. I usually like a 5-point border. You could do reflection if you wanted, and the reflection is a video. I don't know if you can see it down here, but as I move, the reflection moves. It's a reflection of the video, which is kind of insane. You can also change the way this looks. If it's squared off, if it's rounded, things like that. Now I just have to remember how to do that. Here we go. So again, you just grab this little green dot up here, and you can move it to make the corners as rounded as you want. Now, because this is a smaller element, I'm going to have my rounded corners be a little less. Let's do 25. So now I've got my rounded corners. Now, if I grab it like this, it's going to move it in the same ratio, but we can change that also. If I click on Live Video up here on the top right, and then down here where it says Mask, the default is 16 by 9, but you can choose 4 by 3. You can choose 2 by 3, square. You can do a circle like the one that I have at the bottom now, or you can do custom. And I like doing custom because I wanted to get it exactly how I want. So I'm going to go ahead and spread these out exactly how I want them. Let's see here. It looks pretty good, actually. And spread that out. All right, so there we go. So now we've got live video alongside of text. Now, there was one more thing. I did have a logo, maybe your synagogue logo. So let's go back, and we're, again, just going to come up here to Media. Click on Media. We're going to choose, and I'm going to upload the logo that I have, make that a little smaller, and move that up here to this corner. Let me see. I don't remember exactly where I placed it. All right, we can move it a little farther over here, maybe like that. All right. So now we've created our first slide again. So, right, they look pretty much the same. Now let's recreate this slide in the same way so that the magic move works, right? So I'm going to go down here, and I'm actually just going to duplicate this slide. All right, so now I've got a duplicate of this slide right over here on the left-hand side. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this white box where I want it in this slide. So I'm going to move it down to the bottom here, and I'm also going to make it much smaller. And we're going to have to adjust that text. Probably should have done that before. I'm going to highlight all of that text, and let me make that smaller. I think I'll make it over here. I'll make it try see what 36 does. Might have to go even smaller than that. Yeah, that should work actually. Now I'll reorient it. And let's get rid of this. Put that in there. Put that in there. You can, of course, format this however you want. I'm not sure I like the way that's formatted, but you get the idea. So now I've got my background stayed consistent. I'm actually going to pull this out just a little more. Actually, you know what? I'll just change the radius on here. And you know what? I'll pull it down a little bit. That way, by pulling this lower border down a little bit, I've got the rounded edge on top, but it'll be square on the bottom. So now with my live video, because I already have this set to custom, I'm just going to spread this out, and I can do it. How did I do it up here? Do I have it? Oh, I have this on top. Excuse me, the lower third is on top. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit. And then I'm just going to send this to the, you know what, I actually think I like it better this way. I'm not going to do what I just said. I'm going to leave it a little, so it's not quite the full screen, because I like the Jerusalem stone in the background. And you know what I'll do? The kotel, I'm going to do the same thing with the lower third. You could set this up however you want. Let me actually bring this in a little bit so that they're lined up. This might throw my text off a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, no, that works. That works okay. Pull this up one touch, pull this up one touch. Pull it up more than a touch, actually. There we go. So now I've got a little bit of the kotel all around, of the Western Wall all around. And I've got my main video here, and I've got my lower third. So now what we need to do is we need to apply the magic move. So I'm going to, on this first slide, I want to make sure I don't have any element within here clicked. Just when I'm on the slide, I'm going to come over here. You'll see it says slide layout, and above that you see format, animate, document. I'm going to click on animate, and I'm going to add an effect. And the first one that comes up is called magic move. And now it's going to automatically bring that in. So let's see how that works. This might start at the beginning again, but that's okay. When I click my button, there we go. That's it. It's that simple. It's really pretty amazing that we now have the capacity to do this right in Keynote. So if I were leading a Zoom service or a Zoom class, I might set up my whole slide deck with the text that I'm teaching or the prayers that I'm leading or whatever it is, maybe artwork for a Devar Torah, a sermon that I'm giving, and then put my live video right in the slide and then just share my screen. And then what that'll do is that will allow me to be front and center, to be fully present with the people that I'm teaching, so they can see me, they can see the way I interact, the way that I speak, my expressions. They can get the fullest version of my excitement over the Torah that I'm sharing, and I don't have to have any production software. Now, you all know that I use Ecamm Live. That's my production software of choice, and I can do all this in Ecamm, but I gotta say, this is really pretty powerful, pretty impressive that you can do all of this in just Keynote. It's just amazing. So I want to encourage you to download that the latest update from Keynote. I think that I actually have that linked Keynote as one of the apps that I use on my website. And so I want to also encourage you to visit my website. Head on over to TorahTechGuy.com. I forgot to move the mic with me. TorahTechGuy.com. You can also find me TorahTechGuy.tv here on YouTube. And this is where I share lots of great tips and how-tos. And I'm a part of a whole bunch of shows. Tomorrow, I'm doing a how-to on how to use the Owl camera for sharing great Torah. So that's going to be a good one. I think I'm going to end this now because my doorbell keeps ringing. Someone desperately wants to see me. But I hope this was helpful. It's a really amazing feature over here in Keynote. I want you to try it out and so that you can share the best Torah that you possibly can. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.